Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with yet another hidden gem. As a lot of you know, I love me my diamonds in the rough, and I believe I have discovered another one. Given that I have a very Fallout-centric audience, I found this game to be a good fit. Otherwise, I probably would have honestly passed it up. So today we're taking a look at Chernobylite. This is a game that comes from the developer, the Farm 51, and here you can see a list of the games they developed in their company's history. Quite honestly, none of these in the developed game section look familiar, but the outsourced titles do look familiar. Regardless, Chernobylite looks very unique, and I want to talk about it a little bit today, so let's get into it. Chernobylite is a open world survival horror post-apocalyptic game, and it's quite a mouthful and there's a lot to unpack there, so let's go section by section on why I think this is such a good fit for Fallout fans and delivers on what Fallout fans have really been missing in a number of ways. So for starters, it's a sense of atmosphere this game has. Survival horror has slowly become one of my favorite genres in gaming. I always forget it because I stay away from it because quite honestly I'm not a big horror guy, but when I dive into it and there's that survival aspect too of every bullet counts, every resource counts, there's nothing quite as good as that because it's such a finely tuned work of art, honestly. It's so hard to balance out having the right amount of ammo at the right time and knowing the developer predicted all of that and tested the game enough. But to do that also in an open world setting in a post-apocalyptic title is really ambitious, I feel. And I think the post-apocalyptic part really helps an aspect of this game that may be viewed as what I'd consider retreading old ground. We've seen a lot of early access titles, a lot of Kickstarter titles say, hey, here you go, here's a lot of resources, go collect them all, isn't that fun? But when you put your game already in a post-apocalyptic universe, the very setting inherently pushes you to survive because everyone around you is dead, the world has ended, and you're just trying to live day in, day out. And that's one of the gameplay mechanics in Chernobylite, where you have that scanner in your right hand and you can look for different materials all around you. Now, it's not just about resource collection. There is gunplay in this, and I'll be completely honest with you, it is very shaky looking. And I'm sure, as you've already realized, there's a lot of jank to this product. The frame rate's alright, the shooting's not that great, but I also think there's a lot to love here in the terms of personality, world building, and unique mechanics. In fact, it really reminds me of that feeling I got for the first time with a survival game when it came to the Forest of all titles. Now, this is a game I really fell off of, but I remember when it first came out in early access, I was like a day one adopter. I was so in on the idea. I thought it was so revolutionary. I was so excited. Little did young Matty know how long it would truly take for that full product to come to fruition, where here I am now and I have zero interest in the title. But when it comes to Chernobylite, we're a lot closer. It's supposed to be dropping this year, and I really like some of the supernatural elements it's also introducing, like using Chernobylite, a resource to tear between time and space. I think that type of stuff is super awesome, especially when it's in a post-apocalyptic setting. There's a lot of things to balance here in the terms of not only gameplay, but also all the styles this game's going for between survival horror, exploration in an open world, but also not as janky gameplay. Hopefully that really does shape up. And as you probably already know, this game is set in Russia, so there is full-on Russian voice acting, and yes, there are subtitles, but there is no English voices as far as I heard from about the combined 45 minutes to about 50 minutes of gameplay I had sat down and watched. Heck, there are even dialogue choices with the way you interact with characters. I mean, this game is trying to cover all the bases, so it's got a very broad scope, and given some of the look of the title and some of the jank, I imagine the budget isn't as big as the scope of the title, but I still think they're successfully doing a lot of things here. I like the conversation system. I like that you could chat and trade with other settlers, so to speak. There is, in fact, a scrapping and building system like the Fallout 4 settlement mode, so there is that also in place, and also there's a way to send other stalkers out into different locations in the world to go get materials to complete missions for you, so it's like you're working together as a team. I mean, there's a lot of really cool things happening here. There's a lot of ambition, there's a lot of push to be something bigger and greater than its company, and I really respect that because I feel like, given where Fallout is right now, 76 is having the Wastelanders update come out soon. Who knows how that turns out, but after the recent update that I covered on my channel, I'm not really holding my breath here. And so when I see a game like Chernobylite, and of course, like we've all talked about for months and months and months, The Outer Worlds, these types of games get me really excited now because I am a huge Fallout fan of the older Fallouts. I'm talking 3 New Vegas and prior to that as well. Those are the things I fell in love with and made me adore that franchise, but recent entries really haven't triggered that full-on love for me, so I have to look other places for it. And so a game like Chernobylite really jumps off the screen at me more than it probably would if Fallout was existing in more of a single-player, fully developed environment like it should be currently. Now, this game was kickstarted, so I want to make sure that everyone's fully aware of that, because I know that some YouTubers were offered keys to play this game in its alpha state and give feedback and spread the word. I was not involved in any of that. I literally saw gameplay from IGN in my sub box. I clicked on it because I saw Chernobylite. I know Chernobyl. I was like, oh, post-apocalyptic maybe? What is this? I clicked on it. I was happy with what I saw, and that's really the story. You guys know me. I'm never ever paid to say anything on the channel. I have a no sponsorship policy. I genuinely thought this game looked really cool despite some of its jank, some of it being rough around the edges. I thought that maybe there was a special title here in the making, something that I think all of us could rally around and really appreciate, because what a lot of survival games really struggle with is they base too many of their mechanics around resource collection, and that's obviously one of the names of the game and one of the main gameplay loops in Chernobylite. But I like that there is human interaction, there is lore, there's text to read, there is a universe here, and there's something that you can really get involved with, and there's multiple gameplay systems, like I said, like sending out the stalkers, and of course crafting and building. All that type of stuff excites me because it's not just one gameplay loop. I always say that these great games, maybe Chernobylite doesn't turn out to be that, but a lot of great games are made that way because they have multiple great working systems, not just one thing that clicks well. Very rarely do you see that, like we'll say a Borderlands or a Diablo, where it's kill, 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 loot, 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 and it's just a very addicting loop. But obviously even those games had to evolve and bring in better stories, at least in the case of Borderlands. So that's why I really like what I'm seeing in Chernobylite. They're not just resting on one laurel, like filling in the void of Fallout or just being another survival title. It looks like they're really reaching beyond that, and I really like what I'm seeing there. Also, the art direction is great. I love some of the menus I'm seeing, some of the maps I'm seeing. It seems like a very ambitious and inspired project at that. It seems like the developers actually care. But one thing I'm not mentioning, because I've said horror a number of times, and that's not just like a play on words or anything. There are some genuinely creepy moments in the gameplay. There's tense music, there's an atmosphere to it, and while some of the sound is missing in some of these creepier scenes where it could have delivered a lot better, I imagine that's because a lot of the gameplay I watched was in pre-alpha, one of the earliest stages you can reveal your game in. So once again, I want to make it so clear that there is jank and it's rough around the edges for sure. It's definitely not like a, we'll say, Greedfall, where that's an excellent looking title that doesn't seem to be super rough around the edges outside of some facial animations, and it is not being talked about. There is reason for Chernobylite not really getting a light shown on it, but I think there are a lot of redeemable qualities here that we can fall in love with if we do accept some of those lesser than good aspects of the game. So all in all, I just wanted to go ahead and blabber a bit about Chernobylite. This game looks really cool. I love the models, I love the art style, I'm really liking some of the systems in place. The HUD is especially cool. There's just something about this game that's really clicking with me, and I think it's because I'm missing Fallout big time. I mean, you know, that is a series I loved and loved and loved, and you got an entry in that series that's really just kicking me while I'm down, quite honestly. So I'm happy to see a game like Chernobylite rise up and try to take the throne and do something unique in the meantime. I can really appreciate that, and that's a game I will continue to keep my eye on, and if it does release this year, hopefully I'll have some time to review it. I would love to get my hands on it and give it a look. And that's not me, by the way, e-begging for the alpha. I'd rather just play the full version when it comes out, because some of the jank is a little bit off-putting. But overall, I'm really liking what I'm seeing, and I just wanted to send my love to the Farm 51 because I think they're doing a good job. And maybe some of you guys have not seen Chernobylite and you like what you see here. So hopefully I helped you out with this video, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on Chernobylite in the comments down below. Are you stoked for this game? Is the jank a little bit too much? Have you already been following this game? Am I late to the party? It didn't seem like the videos for this game had a ton of views just based off my little bubble here on YouTube, so I thought it was worth a shot to talk about another underrated title. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.